I don't know anyone who could disagree with socialism.
Being in North Korea, of course, like only way for me to get my proteins were eating, grasshoppers, dragonflies, a lot of insects, tree barks, plants, flowers, and that's how we survive. And most of people die in the spring because that's when there's no like really insects and plants are.
Boo! You suck!
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering End. Socialism is a great idea in the minds of many Hollywood elites. People worth hundreds of millions of dollars inexplicably seem to continuously support an ideology that would see them penniless and would see their own staff rise up against them. But it's not about understanding historically what socialism has done, and it has done some terrible things. It's about touting this thing that you know is never going to happen. It's a take that has zero risk to it. I think I remember Britney Spears famously shilling for it as well. I don't think that, a lot of these people would be appreciating, hyperinflation, although we already have that, massive tax hikes and more. But nonetheless, Black Widow star David Harbour, you may also know him from Stranger Things, says he doesn't know that there's anyone that could disagree with socialist ideology. Not one. He doesn't know a single person. Well, maybe that's because you exclusively hang out with Hollywood weirdos. I can't really speak to why you would hang out with an unstoppable list of morons. But yes, anybody with even 5 minutes of historical research can certainly tell you that there are many things wrong with socialism. Taking a page of the ideological playbook of his Black Widow character, the communism-loving Soviet super soldier Red Guardian, actor David Harbour recently shared his disbelief at the idea that there's anyone that would disagree with socialist ideology. Harbour offered his opinion on socialism during a recent interview with The Guardian, telling staff writer Alexei Duggins that, much like his Red Guardian character, I don't know how there's anyone that could disagree with the socialist ideology. If you work at Starbucks and you make the coffee, then you should own it. What? What? So let me get this straight. You work at McDonald's. You don't purchase the meat. You don't purchase the building. You don't purchase the technology that runs the business. You don't purchase the grills or fryers or the ice cream machine that's always broken. You don't pay the salaries of the people that work there. But because you flip a burger, you should own McDonald's? Is that some sort of weird, bizarre owning the means of production but not understanding anything about socialism take? You're the one making the coffee. However, the Stranger Things star was not above admitting that, quote, the fact that the implementation of these things have led to some of the deepest fascism in our society, so people assume that communism means fascism to a certain degree. It's a terrible thing, he added, before going on to explain that his ideal form of socialism was not a fascistic society where people are punished for stepping out of an ideological line. Bro, that is socialism. But rather more akin to a kindergarten type society where we share things. Okay, David Harbour, will you share some of your vast wealth with me? Perhaps David Harbour should take this opinion to the streets of Cuba right now. There's no better example where on the streets of Cuba right now, people are rising up against their oppressive socialist leadership as massive food shortages hit the country along the same time as hyperinflation. And Cuba, I mean, this isn't like an in a vacuum thing where Cuba is just one place that didn't get it right. There's hundreds of examples of where socialism has failed desperately. You can talk about advantages of, for example, socialized medicine. There are pros and cons, but the overall outcome isn't as devastating, for example, as like a government, a socialist government. And you have here, that's my ideal society, asserted Harbour, as opposed to this world where we're hunting and destroying for our own personal hoarding and our own personal greed. I'm curious. I wonder how much, let's see, David Harbour, these are notoriously inaccurate, but let's just take a look. His current net worth is $5 million. That seems extraordinarily low. 5 or 6 million. This guy's running the biggest show on Netflix, and he's just starred as Red Guardian. Well, he's a multimillionaire, but I guess not like quite that rich. He should probably be reconsidering pushing socialism. The idea that, to that end, in the same interview, the actor also noted that he had quit social media following the realization that he felt nothing more than a cog in a greedy tech machine that isn't geared towards beautifying humanity in any sort of way. Now, in that sense, I 100% agree with David Harbour. Some of the comments, of course, like all socialists, this is via John, he doesn't see the problem. If you make coffee at Starbucks, then you should get to own it because you make the coffee. Step 2, if you make the coffee machine that gets used at Starbucks, then you should own it because that's what makes the coffee. Step 3, if you make a machine that makes a coffee machine that gets used at Starbucks, and of course, who gets to decide what happens to the machine? Who decides if it's used at Starbucks? The person who made the machine, wouldn't that make the owner of an investor? I think here again, Luis says the socialism never can work because it's an economy totally controlled by an elite group. And like monopolies, they don't worry about having to be competitive to avoid rival companies, steal their clientele, neither about facing the consequence of their actions because we are dumbs who pay for broken plates. For all the damage they can cause, not even Germans could get socialism to work right. Thomas Sowell says, quote, it's hard to imagine a more stupid or dangerous way of making decisions than putting those decisions in the hand of the people who pay no price for being wrong. Ayn Rand says, if a businessman makes a mistake, he suffers the consequences. If a bureaucrat makes a mistake, you suffer the consequences. Again, there are many great quotes. Socialism isn't Robin Hood stealing only rich men, but it is King John collecting taxes. You have here now David Harbour, though, riding that wave to Red Guardian possible spinoff. Now, I don't think that Red Guardian is popular enough to warrant a standalone film, but certainly he could appear in other films. There exists for it. David Harbour has had discussions with Marvel about returning to the role of Red Guardian. The 46-year-old actor made his debut in the MCU in Black Widow as a super soldier, Red Guardian, and has suggested that he has had talks about returning to the studio for future projects. When he told Collider, there's some chatter around certain things. We were pretty focused on just this. There's also a lot of stuff in the pipe that it seems like in this particular phase, there's a lot of different. There's the Eternals. There's different elements to that universe that I think they're branching out at this point. I knew I wasn't involved in that branch. The discussions didn't really give a sense of what's up next, but it was more of really just focused on this movie and some speculation of possibilities. He also recently revealed that he would love to play the character again someday, whether in another film or on TV. Asked about returning the role, the Stranger Things star told Rotten Tomatoes, I hope so. I'll tell you what, I'm ready. Tweet your local Disney representative at Kevin Feige or whatever and let him know how you feel. He's a pro-communism guy. He gets to play a communist superhero. That seems like a pretty good fit for David Harbour. And I actually think he's a relatively decent actor inside of this tight kind of role. Like, as Hopper on Stranger Things, he's pretty decent as like this lovable loser kind of guy. He goes on, David's character is the Soviets' version of Captain America, and previously revealed that he would love to see the two characters face off in a film. Me too, actually. I would love to see Captain America absolutely destroy him. He said, I do think that a classic Cold War thing is a really fun and funny dynamic between these two guys, and the fact that they came up like nuclear warheads, like in an arms race together. I think it's a great concept that could be explored further. You know, you can always take these Hollywood statements about, you know, I really love playing this role. I really love to play it again. I mean, of course you would. You got a big fat paycheck. You're not going to say that you hated a role. Usually when you find out that an actor hated a role, it's not till many, many, many years later. Yeah, I don't think that I'm going to back your socialism, David Harbour. I would hope that you would get a little more educated on it before you use your platform to postulate how could anyone possibly think socialism is bad. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.